This is how the Obama media works. The goal is to make disreputable anybody who opposes Obama. That's the basic goal. That was what it was last summer in the town hall meetings when they called everybody racist because they didn't like Obama's health plan. Our colleague here at Fox, Glenn Beck, who is holding a rally in Washington, D.C., and what the Obama media does is say, oh, look, we've got to make this something really bad.
A Fox News Channel TV host has decided to use the anniversary as an occasion for a rally of conservatives in Washington at the site of the speech at the Lincoln Memorial.
Now, you might, if you listen to Madame Maddow from time to time, you might sense in her tone of voice there that the sucker punch is coming.
But a Tea Party group based in the great state of Maine has put out a guide for any Tea Party-minded folks who might be planning on attending the rally in D.C. It's a sort of Tea Partier's rough guide, I'm from out-of-town guidebook for visiting our nation's capital.
Okay, is there something wrong with telling out-of-towners you might not want to venture into certain areas of Washington, D.C.?
No.
And why would that be?
Because in most cities, there's some areas that maybe will have more crime than others.
Where crimes are committed on the street.
Yeah.
Against the unsuspecting.
Yeah.
Okay, so somebody in New Hampshire put out a little guide. One person.
Yes, and she said a blog did. It's Maine. One guy put it on a Maine Tea Party website.
They give Tea Partiers traveling to D.C. for this.
Wait a second. She said they. Is it one or two or three?
One guy wrote this guide.
One guy?
Yep.
Well, then she ought to say, he says, correct?
Yes.
But instead she says...
They give Tea Partiers traveling to D.C. for this big rally, they give them some safety advice. If you are on the subway, stay on the red line between Union Station and Shady Grove, Maryland. If you are on the blue or orange line, do not go past Eastern Market, Capitol Hill, toward the Potomac Avenue stop and beyond.
Did I just read last week on the Washington, D.C. Metro, the subway that she is talking about, that there was a riot of 70 people in which 4 people are actually hurt, stabbed, or beat up, but a riot involving 70 people that was on and off the trains through various stops?
Yes, August 8th.
Is there something wrong with saying, you might notice the news, they had a big riot on this subway just a few days ago. Would there be something wrong with that?
Protecting yourself from the evil green and yellow lines would also protect you, of course, from Howard University, the country's most prominent historically black college. Or maybe it's the U Street stop. The U Street stop where you'll find Ben's Chili Bowl, a historic restaurant that attracts luminaries and laymen alike with its sloppy, beefy goodness.
She's got to be kidding, right? She talked about Ben's Chili Bowl.
Sloppy, beefy goodness.
Didn't mention the riot. Well, of course, she's trying to make the guy look like a jerk.
The Tea Party is old, white, desperate, out of touch, and evidently just scared of black folks in this country. The conservative blogger also posted directions for people to stay out of the bad parts of town this weekend. It reads, as a rule, African immigrants do not like for you to assume they are African Americans, right, and especially do not like for you to guess they are from a neighboring country. I can't believe this is happening in America in 2010. This is the kind of person who will be attending the Beck rally.
Can I just say, I go to D.C. a lot, and I get in the cabs a lot, and they do have, by they I mean individually, they have different sensitivities about your assumptions about them.
He was doing a good thing.
Yeah, it's saying don't generalize about the people you run into who might be driving cabs, because you could make a mistake and end up insulting the guy. I can't believe that that's been twisted into something that is bad for the purpose of impugning Tea Partiers and others who will attend the Glenn Beck rally.
The Tea Party is old, white, desperate, out of touch, and evidently just scared of black folks in this country.
Desperate?
The conservative blogger also posted directions for people to stay out of the bad parts of town this weekend. Right. It reads, as a rule, African immigrants do not like for you to assume they are African Americans, and especially do not like for you to guess they are from a neighboring country.
All right, you spotted a clever Ed Schultz trick there, Angry Rich. Would you please explain it?
Right, he said that he instructed people to stay out of bad parts of the city, and then he immediately said black people from Africa, which was a separate part about how to treat cab drivers. He put the two things together.
The political background of the alleged assailant is confused and even contradictory. He worked as a volunteer videographer for a religious group which supported the Park 51 Islamic Community Center in New York, and he did say that he had just returned from Afghanistan, making a film there about a high school friend in the U.S. military, and was apparently deeply concerned about the people and the war there. While circumstances would suggest he may have been influenced by the Islamophobic hysteria of the last month, there are indications in a fast-moving story that he may in fact have been more influenced by large amounts of alcohol. Regardless, let us conflate. Now, before we get on to the conflation, I mean, here's Bathtub Boy essentially front-loading this story by saying, well, this has nothing to do with the mosque controversy, but let me make it have something to do with the mosque controversy. Let me just tell you what happened with Enright. First of all, he got in, at the time that he was stabbing the cabbie, he was yelling, "This is a checkpoint, mother bleeper. I have to put you down." And the poor cabbie, I mean, this guy's been in America, been driving a cab 15 years. I guess he's been here.
And he's against the mosque itself.
And he's against the mosque, and he's in the front seat. This guy's reaching through with his Leatherman knife, and he began calling for the king of Saudi Arabia. This is a guy who's a victim of blackouts, has had prior arrests for disorderly conduct and underage drinking, and he's from a group that supports the mosque and is Muslim-friendly. But let us not let the drunkenness or his personal history stop us from conflating him into a perfect example of Islamophobia run amok.
In our fifth story tonight, 21-year-old Michael Enright got into a New York City taxi last night, asked the driver if he was Muslim, got an affirmative answer, and then allegedly slashed the driver with a knife across the neck, face, and shoulders.
And Bata Boy proceeded to, after front-loading the thing, was essentially saying, this may have nothing to do with anything.
And it's one person.
And it is one person, but let us make it stand for everyone who opposes the mosque, and let us brand them with the desecration of their character known as Islamophobia.
Enright was trying to get publicity for that documentary. He had reached out to at least one reporter, wound up talking to her 5 times, trading emails with her. Katy Tur of our NBC station here in New York, WNBC, who joins us now from Queens. Katy, describe what impression you had of his demeanor, stability, temperament. Who was this guy?
I got to tell you, the first time I spoke to this guy, I was struck by how incredibly polite he was. He was yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, very polite on the phone, just wanted to get a point across about how he feels that soldiers really aren't getting enough attention back in the United States.
By the way, so this is Katy Tur, works for WNBC in New York, who Bathtub Boy refers to as...
My dear friend Katy Tur.
He said, who is this guy? By the way, who is she?
Either his former or current girlfriend.
Oh, that's right. That's his girlfriend. The young one, right?
Yeah, about half his age.
And she got a job at NBC?
What a shock.
Imagine.
The idea that he was anti-Muslim came as a real shock to those who knew him, certainly as a surprise to me, because he seemed so extraordinarily stable, at least on the phone from the times that I spoke to him.
Let me just, she did say...
I never got an impression that he was anti-Muslim in any way.
Well, let's just say he was.
He's one person.
He is a guy in New York City, a city of how many millions?
13 million people.
13 million people, and Bathtub Boy has his girlfriend on to talk about this.
My dear friend Katy Tur.
Yeah, dear friend's right. But I just think that he, well, that's one way to put it, isn't it, Christine? I just think that he's on his way here to conflating this one person into Americans are Islamophobes. Here is the example of it that proves it. You are an Islamophobe. You are a racist if you oppose the mosque. And we're going to take this one guy and we're going to make him the poster child for all those people who oppose the mosque. See, they're all waiting to kill cab drivers.
Let's bring in the president of the New York chapter of the Council on American Islamic Relations, Ziad Ramadan. Obviously, was trying to promote coverage of the war and of veterans and ally veterans with civilians. Could there be another explanation for this?
You know, this is really puzzling, whether consciously or subconsciously.
There we go.
This gentleman started slashing away at someone after he asked him if he was a Muslim. So that was the direct connect. My question is really, what made him tip? Is all this horrible rhetoric that's out there these days really causing people to turn from, you know, freedom of expression to violence?
There we go. See, what made him tick? Well, never mind him. What about all those people who oppose the mosque? What makes them tick? Are they the same as the cabbie stabber?
John Gibson of Fixed News, today's worst person in the world.
Always striving to be the worst to bathtub boy.
You should crawl off into a hole and die.
But the best to you. John Gibson.